What's going on, family? What's going on? This is your boy Marv Richardson Jr. We're becoming one. I hope you guys had a great week. I did as well. And here we are again on another Tuesday night. And I wanted to bring you some new content as I always endeavor to do so. And so, just like the title said, it says spring forward. So, let's get into it. Springing forward. So, all of our clocks just changed, just this past Sunday night. We lost an hour of sleep. And for some, that was a good thing. For some, that's not. Depending on where you're living, you get more daylight. I know for me, we're going to get more daylight now in the evening. So it'll get darker later. Um, and so that's a good thing because, you can hang out a little bit more. You can get more things done. And if you're like me, it seems like once we fall back in the fall, it seems like it got dark like 4 o'clock, like 4 p.m. It was pitch black outside. You know, it was almost like for those people that have to get up and go to work and drive to work, they're almost going to drive from can't see in the morning to can't see at night. Um, that's not necessarily my life as I'm a virtual worker, but it's still the fact still remains that there's a difference in what we experience when the clocks change. And so, how does this relate to relationships? I'll let you know when we get to it. But let's talk about springing forward. And I want to talk about it from a different perspective. And so, springing forward, let's first deal with spring. Oftentimes, when you think about spring, there's a couple of things that can come to mind. One would be the season of the spring. And so, in the season of the spring, you know that the cherry blossoms are going to start coming forward. It's actually already starting to happen in my neighborhood. Um, some other things is you start to notice more flies being out, a little more gnats depending on where you're going, because the season is changing. It starts to look different outside. The weather starts to change. It gets a little warmer. Sometimes it's still brisk, depending upon where you live. That sunny sky outside doesn't necessarily mean it's warm out. But as we get closer to the ending of March and going into April, obviously it'll start to get warm. And then there's something, if you're looking at the word spring mechanically, a spring is like something that is used to either hold tension or push tension away. And so you think about from a mechanical standpoint, well, let's think about cars. So cars have this thing called coil springs on the front and the rear of the vehicle, and it's basically built such that it can handle the impact of whatever that particular tire runs over. And so the coil springs compresses so that it can handle the impact of whatever your tire is hitting. Failure to have a coil spring, you're going to your the frame of your vehicle is going to take the brunt of that. And so spring obviously from a seasonal perspective, it comes before the summer. It becomes before the major level of heat comes. Another thing is that when we're looking at spring as something that is mechanical, it's something that holds pressure or is used to release pressure. And so usually within all types of mechanisms, there's usually a spring that'll either hold tension or it'll be used that the tension, once it's released, that spring will release and it'll push whatever's in front of it. If you can catch it, you can keep it. And so let's think about that from a forward standpoint, right? When we think about forward, forward is going in the direction of the way that you're facing or where you're traveling to. Um, it's actually moving onward to make progress. When we think about forward, it's always like we want to move forward in the direction of something. There's a song that came out years ago called Moving Forward. He says, I'm not going back. I'm moving ahead to here declare to you the time is, and the rest of the lyrics, because I can't think of it right now. But in any case, he's talking about moving forward. And then he talks later in the song, you've made all things new. And so when the spring comes, it's almost like something new starts to happen. You get new leaves on the trees, and there's an experience that's happening in the earth, um, in our world where we live, and you see it visually, you actually feel it. But from a different perspective, when you're thinking of a spring, it's also going to propel you forward into something. And so a spring can be used, like I was saying earlier, to either hold tension or to release tension. And so considering forward as your launch path per se. And so whether you're single season or you're married or you're newly married, you want to think about forward together, or forward as you connect with God, in Him with us for all. So for those of us that are single, we need to think, how can I align with God so that as I'm springing forward in the direction that would be best suitable for me, and where He kind of has me going in life. And so, forward does the following things. Forward has a direction. Forward is a decision. Sometimes forward requires an ending in order for a new beginning to start. And forward, a lot of times, is a green light. It's telling you, okay, yeah, it's time to go forward in this. It's time to go forward, go to school. It's time to go forward, write a book. It's time to go forward in what I feel prompted to do. And a lot of times for us, it's something that's internal. It's like you don't understand, but whatever it is for you, you need to move forward and spring forward. And so, um, but there is a warning, and I won't be before you long, but I want to share of a particular story where in the seasonal springtime, one particular person found himself um, in a space, in a place where he had no business. Now, I'm not going to read the scripture. You know the story. I'm talking about David and Bathsheba. We all know it. But as it says in Second Samuel, it says in the springtime, during the time of war, David was at home. And so something about the springtime, he's in the middle of a war. There's a battle going on. His army is out there and he's at home. And so I'm not trying to bring light to the Bathsheba part. What I'm trying to bring light to is the fact that during a time when he should have been moving forward in the commission of being at war, he was not. And so, um, my question to you is, what is your Bathsheba? What is the thing that may be kind of in the way of where you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to be doing? Now, yeah, we know all things work together for the good of them that love the Lord and called according to His purpose. But sometimes you can be moving forward and there's a distraction. And so, a distraction is not always a woman. A distraction is not always a man. I'm using the story of David and Bathsheba to say that sometimes something can be placed, and it's not so much that she was out of place; it's that he was out of place. So the warning is, make sure that you're not out of place, but you're in place. And so I was asking you, what is your Bathsheba? Is there a post that you expected to be in that you're not quite on right now? What is your post? What are you supposed to be doing? And are you feeling tension because something is pressing upon you? Or are you feeling tension because something is pressing on you to move forward? Whatever's happening in the next 3 to 6 months from now, your decisions that you make today will greatly determine what the outcome of that tomorrow is. And so, if you have a Bathsheba like distraction, then it's possible that you may be holding yourself from what's coming next. And again, I'm just saying Bathsheba as as an example of something that distracted him because it was very beautiful to look at. He engaged her, and we all know the rest is history. Um, but what if Bathsheba is not writing that book for you? What if you may be doing activities in an area that's not in your best interest for what your forward is? And so, and if your attention, if in your tension, if you're experiencing tension because you're actually already moving in the direction that you're supposed to be moving in, then I'm just going to encourage you not to give up. You know, do not give up because there's a reason, just like how, I hate to use this as the analogy, but when a person is holding a gun and they pull back the chamber, there's a level of tension there. And once you actually hit the trigger, all of that tension is now released and the bullet goes forward. So thinking about it from the standpoint of children, how they are to a father, the Bible says about how like an like an arrow is to an archer, so are sons to a father's future. And so as we're approaching this spring forward, what is your spring forward? What direction are you, arrows that's watching me? Which direction are you supposed to be going in? Where should you be aiming for? What is your aim? And is it possible that you might be sitting down, relaxing in a place where it's not meant for you to be there right now? So how does this relate to relationships? Easy. Because whatever you're not doing is going to hold up you potentially meeting your person in your future, because there may be some things that you need to work on internally before you actually meet them. If you're in a marriage, what are some things that you need to be working on now that might be a distraction that's going to hinder collectively, husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, you guys moving forward. And so there may be attention placed upon you, but there may be attention that you're feeling behind you, and you kind of holding your breath, trying to figure out what am I going to do here. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm kind of feeling this level of stress and strain, and because a decision has to be made. Remember, I was saying earlier that forward is a direction, it's a decision, and sometimes there needs to be an ending to something. There may be the semester is going to end soon, and then another semester will begin. The semester does need to end. You need to study and pass your tests and write your papers so that you can move forward in what you're learning towards your degree. I don't know who that's for, but just take it. Um, your forward is a green light. You're trying to figure out what am I supposed to be doing next. And for some of you, it's right there in your face. And for others, you have to seek it out. It says in the word that it's the glory of God to conceal a matter, but it's the glory of kings to search it out. So, brothers and sisters, kings and queens, what do you need to search out? There's a matter that you need to search out because it matters. It matters to him and it matters to you. So, what is the matter that you need to be in search for so that you can get to the end of the matter and the matter can actually be physical matter and it'll actually work for your good. So I just said a few things, and the geek that I am in some ways, I basically used one term and made it have multiple meanings. Matter like the matter of a thing, matter that you actually hold, and the matter of something that you need to kind of seek and search out. All of these things are about springing forward. All of these things are about you seeking to see where your next is, and use the tension of that spring to propel you forward rather than to keep you stagnant and still. So I hope that that was helpful. Like I said, this was going to be a short one. Doesn't have to be long, but I hope that this reached you. I hope that this was something that helped you out. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Maybe I do another live this week. I don't know. Who knows? But in any case, join me. Thank you for following me. Thank you for subscribing. And I will see you next time. Take care. God bless. Good night.